Now then, how are we doing? I was gonna do a video on the flip over forks and the loading on this machine because people have been asking about it. But I'll do that. I'll do that for the weekend's video and sort of show you a bit more on that. Um, and the reason I'm gonna do something different today is in the past I've done various tales and of stuff and people I've known over the years. Um, I got sort of news that an old friend of mine was killed a couple of weeks ago at work. Uh, you know, and that it kind of reminded me really of some happier times, much happier times, and a good story really of how first off how we met, and then some other stuff just to sort of show what sort of person he was. Um, those of you that sort of know from the area and that will know who I'm talking about. For the others, it doesn't make a difference really. But we'll call him, call him Peter. And that's as much as is relevant really. But anyway, when I was working on the muck spreaders, I was running the big old Massey 2720 on a spreader, and this has gone back in the early 90s. We'd finished where we were spreading on one farm, and we were going to move to Peter's place to spread the next week. And I'd never met him, I'd heard about him, knew of him, knew the name, but never met him. And so the lad said to me, "Look, will you run the JCB telehandler? Will you run that down to his place? We're going to take the spreaders down and get a lift back. But do you want to take the telehandler down on Saturday, and I'll be ready there for the week?" I said, "Yeah, I ain't got a problem with that." Well, from where we were to where Peter's place was about 30 miles because we'd been at up near the lad's yard, about 30 miles. So it's going to take me, the best part really of a couple of hours. So I always remember it was a fantastically bright and sunny day, really warm. And I'm sat in this little glass house, sort of the cab on the telehandler, and off I went. And I was told, when you get there, park up in the yard, Peter will be there, just go and see him and he'll run you back to us. I said, "Oh, all right, brilliant, fair enough." So obviously my truck was back at the lad's yard, so off I set. And so on the road, sort of as you do, just plodding along for about 2 hours, and it's hot, and I was glad to get there eventually. Found the place, pulled in the yard, parked up, went to find Peter. Looked around the yard, nobody, and sort of looking around and sort of looking in the sheds and around the cattle sheds, if anyone was feeding cattle. Cattle were all still, nobody. So I sort of went out of the farmyard, and then there's a few houses, and I saw somebody I actually knew coming down the road, and I said to him, I said, "You don't know where Peter's place is?" He said, "Yeah, he lives over there." Because I meant to meet him in the yard, but he's not about. He said, "Well, he'll probably be at home." So I went and knocked on the door of the house, and nothing. Nobody about. Let's say this is, in the days before mobile phones were, readily available. I actually had one at the time, and it's one of those huge transportables, like the size of a telephone directory with an aerial and a handset. And obviously I hadn't, brought it in the telehandler. I'd left it in the truck because it was basically the full carrying capacity of the old pickup to take the phone in those days. They weren't little things. So I thought, well, I'll find a telephone box and I'll call the lads. So I wandered into the village and there was a telephone box and it was just opposite the village pub. So I went in there and in the phone box and I called the lads and said, I'm over here, can't see Peter anywhere. Well, he said he'd pick you up. I said, I know. He said he'd pick me up. I can't find him. He's not in there. Have you tried his house? I said, I've tried his house. I've tried the farm. I was wandering around the farm for 20 minutes. There's no one around. And they were like, oh, all right. Well, we'll come and pick you up. But we're going to be like, you know, probably best part, sort of 3/4 of an hour. I said, all right, whatever. I said, I'll see you, you know, in the pub car park. They went, okay, all right. That was that. So I said, it was hot, and, you know, I think to myself, I could do with a nice pint of shandy. You know, half bitter, half lemonade, that'd do me, just cool and refreshing. So, bugger it, I'm going to go and have one. So I went in the pub, and there was 4 or 5 people in there, a couple at the bar, some sat down, and they sort of looked as I went in, and, you know, just sort of nodded, and I went to the landlord, I said, pint of beer shandy, please. So he duly poured this pint, put it on the bar, and I remember grabbing that pint and just downing it in one. Never stopped, just down. Oh, taste it now. And put it, you know, empty glass straight down. And the guy beside me, sort of just up from me, went, looks like you bloody needed that. I said, tell me about it. I said, yeah. I said, that's really hit the spot. So he said to the landlord, he said, I'll have another pint of whatever he was drinking. He said, and get the lad another one. I said, no, you don't have to do it. He said, no, you have another one, lad. So he bought me a pint. So I had another pint of bit of shandy, you see. Yeah, fantastic. Anyway, so we just chatting. He said, so you're working this way or something? I said, no, I just bought a machine over. I said, but I'm just waiting to get a lift back. He's like, oh, right, okay. And that was all that was said, really. And then we were talking about, you know, the weather and how things had been. And that was that. And, you know, a little while later, the lads pulled up in the car park. I turned to the bloke and I said, you know, thank you very much, appreciated for that. And, you know, I'd bought him a pint and whatever as well. So he said, no, you know, pleasure, look at yourself, have a good day. And that was it. I jumped in the truck with the lads and off we went. Got back, got in my truck, the lads, and went home. And then that evening I got a phone call saying, and the lad saying, are you ready for Monday? You know where you're going? And I said, well, yeah, I'll go back to that yard there, you know, this guy Peter, you know. They said, when you went today and called us and went in the pub, I said, yeah. They said, there wasn't a big sort of guy in there, was I? I said, yeah. It was Peter. He had been waiting for me and decided to go and have a pint in the pub. I'd never seen him, he'd never seen me. Neither of us had really mentioned that, you know, I'd brought this telehandler down to his farm or anything or whatever, or he was... So it never came up in conversation. So I'd been having a drink with him and me, and neither of us knew. So come Monday morning, that was it was a bit of a topic, and he came across and said, I know you. I said, yeah, I've seen you before somewhere. So yeah, that was my first time the first time I ever saw Peter. But, and, you know, over that time, you know, we'd become sort of fairly good friends. We was, you know, always wave and speak to each other and, you know, pull up and have a chat. And, I don't know, a couple of years later, I was working on a big estate contract in there, and I didn't have a dedicated tractor. Most of the year I'd have a John Deere 6.6. Until it was needed to go on a sugar beet hoe and drill, and then if that wasn't, you know, being used, I'd have that. I'd failing that, I'd have an John Deere 4240S, which was the sprayman's tractor as and when he needed it. But Anyways, during the summer, and the only tractor available was the 4240S, and everyone was cart and straw. The whole farm was off cart and straw, so every trailer was grabbed and whatever. Now, the only trailer that was available was a tandem axle straw trailer, heavy goods trailer, but been converted to whole straw, and it was the one that the stockman used, the guy up at the dairy, and he was obviously busy milking and whatever, so everyone was about to head off, and it was a good run. That's the thing about it. It was a bit of a road trip, really. It was probably, I don't know, so let's say 15 odd mile each way or whatever, but because everyone was gone, it's a bit of a jolly out. So obviously I wanted to be in on it, so I cobbled together what I could, which was this straw trailer, this spare trailer, and the 4240S. So I was by far the slowest, because most of them had 40k box, 25 mile an hour boxes, but this 4240S would probably get along at 18, 19 miles an hour. But anyway, if I got on, I'd be all right. So off we all went, and obviously I was last there, and last back, loaded up, and got last back. But it was nice. It was all of us in, I say a convoy. They were all in a convoy. I was coming up behind, miles and miles back. But there we are. Anyway, I got back to the yard. We were unloading, and it was just absolutely jam-packed with trailers waiting to be unloaded, and they were stacking it in a big barn, all the straw to keep it dry. And the lad came off from milking. He'd already finished his milk, and he'd come along with his tractor. He had a 6400 Dare, and he said, well, I want my trailer back because I've finished now. I'm going to go on straw. And that was it was the trailer he always had and everything, and so I was like, for crying out loud, He said, well, yeah. So I had to drop the trailer off, which meant I had a tractor, the old 4240S, but no trailer. There were no other available trailers. So yeah, I was a bit obviously disappointed, but I had the tractor and no trailer, and what it's like. They all thought that was quite amusing. Yeah, you got a trailer. You have to stay here, ain't you? Just go down the workshop or something, and they were all sort of laughing and joking and thinking that was really funny. And the guy on the telehandler who had been unloading and was stacking in the shed was Peter, and he's come over to help because I think he was having some of the straw. And he swung round and, now you're right. I said, yeah, I'm all right, Peter. And he said, what's up? What are you doing here? Thought you were going to go back and get another load. I said, no, I ain't got a trailer, Peter. He said, well, do you want to go and get another load? I said, well, I would, wouldn't I? I said, but I ain't got a trailer. So I got a trailer around the corner. And around the corner of the shed, because he'd bought a load over from the previous day, and he brought it around that morning, sat this lovely triaxle trailer, straw trailer, big 40 odd footer, with his, at the time it was nearly new, JCB Fast Track 185 on the front. And he said, you can take that one. And I said, I said, thank you very much, Peter. I said, but trouble is I've only got hydraulic brake couplings. I said, and your trailer's all on air. He said, I know that. He said, what I mean is take the whole lot. So I was like, really? Yeah, he said, I don't care. Do you want to go and get a load? He said, go and get a load. And I could see three of them coming towards me over the hill. And I'm hammering along in this fast track. And as they come whipping past, I'm just like that way, with a big grin on my face. And all you hear on the CB is, oh, you never believe who that is. Ah, and they couldn't believe it. So yeah, I whipped in the field, got loaded up, and by the time I'd loaded and strapped and come back, I was right behind all of them, you know, and that's the difference, you know, that having the fast track. But yeah, I mean, that was, don't say that was the, you know, the old Peter's such a sort of generous bloke in that respect. He, you know, and after that, over the years, you know, I'd needed to, you know, borrow a bit of kit or whatever, and you know, and it's never a problem. Yeah, I got that. It's round the back. Go and help yourself. And then they'd say, right, what do I owe you, Peter? Don't owe me nothing. That's just how he was. But I'd always, you know, get him a bottle or something, whatever, just to thank him and all that. But yeah, as I said, he was he's one of the better ones. So yeah, and that's how I'll you know, I'll miss him. But there we are. So that was the story of Peter. That was so. Anyway, like I said, yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And as I said, we'll have a look at some more machinery in that in the weekend, and you know, the next few weeks. But yeah, just you know, look out yourselves, and you hear it a lot, but you know, just stay safe, and see you again.